Today's guest is Kira Stokes, a 30-year professional in the fitness industry. We have a great conversation about her genuine love of movement and finding a way to scale and continue to give the individual care to her customers that she loves. It's a high-energy conversation. If you want to get motivated, take a listen. I forget sometimes, but since you brought it up, do you have a ritual before you start something? Maybe it's a class or a project or I know some people call it intention setting. Do you have something you do that gets you into this? What is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's actually something that I do. You find it on my app at the end of every workout, but I do it like the beginning and end of whether I'm working out, typically before a workout, and at the beginning of my day, which I'm lucky and fortunate enough now that I can kind of adjust my schedule so that I can actually work out first thing in the day.
Right.
Whereas back, for a good 20 years of my career, that's when everybody wants to train is first thing in the morning. So getting up and being able to do a workout first thing wasn't realistic.
And their workout, I always wondered this, working out for them is not your workout.
No. Even
but
if
I mean,
I
how do you
have
even
to,
do you? You're not exhausted at the end of the day?
No, this is how you know you're doing the right thing in life. You know what I mean? No, but it really depends on the client. That's why, when you're as a trainer versus someone that's because I do both training and group exercise. Yeah. So when I'm training someone, every person is different in how they need motivation. So some clients need me to do some of the workout with them. Some clients, like the majority of my clients, I'm so tapped into their form and their body and what their body's looking like during movements that, I'm not doing any of it. I'm just guiding them through, and I'm very hands-on as a trainer. So I'm always adjusting even that little tiny tweak that you make in someone's shoulders or their hips makes a massive difference.
Right.
And that's always been one of my things, as I say, is I'm so form first always as a trainer that, typically it shouldn't be my workout. It's all about them. It's all about the other person. It's never about me. Right. So, but I'd say for 20 years of my career, from 5 to, usually 1 p.m. was straight clients.
Wow.
So then my time to work out would be not ideal, 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon, because then I would start up again with clients at 5.
Right.
And go till 9 at night.
And is your workout your own system? Is that,
depending on the day.
Use the Kira Stokes system.
Use the Stokes method system. So how I put, what's interesting about, back to my ritual first.
Yes.
I always, and it's become very popular that people do this, but I've done it forever, is take a moment, I literally take a very conscious moment to be grateful for the ability to move and challenge my body because it's truly a gift. And I literally
and I want to hear some
of
that story because I know that's important to you. You know, you had some experience with that.
Yeah. So that moment, it sets the tone for my entire, even if you're not working out, it sets the tone for your day.
Right,
Whether you're working out or not, the ability to move is a gift.
Yeah.
And then if you can challenge yourself with that gift, which would be the workout, even better. But it's just taking the moment of gratitude. I bookend my day with that always.
Interesting. And where did you learn that from, or?
I just did it innately.
Yeah. Okay.
There was no one taught me to take that pause. Right. I think it just, for me especially, I think it started more in an intentional way when we moved to Larchmont. We were living near the water.
Right.
And I could be near the water.
You like that?
The water, oh my gosh.
I love being near water too, yeah.
Water, so the whole inspiration for the color of my brand, Kira Green as I call it, the color, if the Stoked bands, all of my equipment is Kira Green. It's threaded throughout my entire app. I'm constantly wearing it. The inspiration for that is the colors of that you find in the sea or the ocean. Nice. So that kind of bluish green color, because the ocean is where I feel the most inspired, but also peaceful, but also creative. So it's to me, when I'm near the water, it's that's where my programming comes to me. It's where I can I just clarify, my brain becomes more, what's in it becomes more clear and organized.
Do you think that's from being landlocked in upstate New York?
Maybe
it's you grew up on the beach in California.
Maybe it is. I know, right? It's what we put people, when I tell people that, they're where are you from? I'm Delmar, New York. It's very strange. It's very strange.
I don't like being landlocked. I like knowing I'm near water. Yeah.
Well, it's also, if I get really deep with it, I live where my husband and I live.
Yeah.
We live on a corner. I grew up on a corner.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like the end house on a corner. I never like to be in the middle. Like I need to be, when we go on the plane, I need to be on the aisle. Like I always need an exit.
Yeah.
Like I don't like
Me too.
feeling
I have to be.
landlocked in any way.
Exactly.
And it like carries through my whole life. I'm like, I don't know if it's the need for like the exit, like quickly. I don't know if it's that or just the need to feel
It's a
free.
sense of freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to be able to look out and like see the ocean and not know what's on the other side, really.
Yeah,
There's something about that. I think it's really good for your brain to go, you know what? You can't plan everything, right? So when you look out into the water, there's so much unknown.
Absolutely.
And it allows you to be more creative.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly, I mean, my husband even knows this, when I get to a point where I feel like stuck or I feel just not inspired. Yeah. He's amazing that he'll just like book a trip and be like, we got to get you to the like real ocean, as I call it, because we live on the Sound. Like the Long Island Sound is not the ocean to me, but it's water. It's
Close enough,
but it's not like that. The ocean is very different to me.
Yeah, so where we live, we could easily get to the bay or the ocean, but I love going to the ocean. There's something just sitting there, the waves rolling. There's something primal. There's something creative about it. I love the beach. It's one of my favorite.
It's truly places, that is. I feel so fortunate that we live close to water at all. Like you said, I grew up in upstate New York, so it's a totally different situation. Right. But ultimately, I want to be in like, we're constantly talking about getting another place on the West Coast that's more like right on the ocean, so that I could have it every day. Yeah. That's the ultimate
goal.
Back
to the gratitude thing for a second, just made I was having a conversation recently. We were talking about gratitude, and I was at a talk, and some students were asking me something about the business. A sort of like, how did you do it question, or And what I was trying to convey was it's a lot of luck, to be honest. Like you can work hard, but you don't know how it's going to break at any given day.
Yep.
So I used to describe coming down and seeing the cafe and the lines out the door and just being grateful. And I said to them, I think if I ever stop being grateful, then I think it'll go south.
Yeah.
But there's something to like, if you just sort of are very humble about it, appreciate what's happening, have that gratitude, I think somehow that leads to success in building whatever you're building.
Yeah, I even, I have really, I truly do believe that. And I feel like, I've been a trainer or in this industry for 30 years, right? And I wake up every day with a smile on my face, like truthfully excited to get out of bed to work with people. And that is such a gift. Like I said, like not everybody gets to do that.
Absolutely.
You know that. Like not everybody, like even my husband, his job is a job, right? He'll look at me and it's almost good to have made him like rethink his whole life, because he's like,
Why
you wake
so
up happy every day.
Right.
What is it? And I was like, it's called work for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not called play, it's called work. 80% of people I would say out there don't ever get to really love what they're doing. They're just going through the motions and doing it.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to say, like, find your passion and make it your job. Like, my passion is my profession. It's not, you can't just snap your fingers and make that happen. You have to really work to find what your passion is and then figure out what's the roadmap there and is it possible in terms of like a profession. Yeah. And it's not possible for everyone.
Have you discovered, and I want to get into more of I want to hear more about the program and also some of the backstory, but this is so interesting. Have you discovered, in your career of doing this, different things you've loved about it that have sort of changed over the years? So you thought, this is what's driving me right now, but now this is what I really love about what I'm doing. Yeah,
I think, when I first started, the whole landscape of fitness was so different.
How so?
So when my junior year in college at Boston College is when I started training people, when I got my first certification and was like, I just like dipping my toes in it, seeing if I liked it. Because I was still in school. So
that was just random, but I want to try it.
Well, my parent, like, what, truth be told, I would call my roommates into the common area at Boston College before we go out at night.
I read this. And you would like do workouts?
Yeah, I would like, and it wasn't mine. It was like, I'd put like Tammy Lee Webb butt blasters on the, or like Denise Austin on I'd be like, let's go. We got to like get it tight and right for 10 minutes.
It was like pre-gaming before you went out?
Pre-gaming before we went out. I was like, we got to get those buns high and tight, like, and my roommates, they'd be like, you're insane. But they would do it. Right. And I although we were doing it was video cassette back then. I mean, it was like VHS. We're talking 1994.
Right.
This was 1994. There was no, I don't even think we had DVDs. I really think it was VHS. And I would still kind of guide them, even though we're following that. I'd be like the one motivating in the room. And I was like, I'm actually loving this. And I remember telling my parents, and they were so confused. They were like, what do you mean you're trained? And I was like, I want to get a trainer. And back then it was a hobby. It wasn't a profession.
Right. I mean, nobody was doing it as a profession?
Yeah, people were.
I mean, you had the videotape people, right?
Right. I mean, there were very few, and the few that did it were super successful. But just getting into it was so foreign to like, think of my parents, like they'd never heard that someone wanted to be a personal trainer or teach group exercise. So I remember them, as most parents of that time would, saying like, well, what do you mean you don't want to be a lawyer or something? You don't want to? And I was like, no, I think I really want to do this. And they were very much like, if you're in college, you have a gym, it's called the Plex at Boston College. We're not paying for a gym membership. Like, and you need to focus on college. So,
real,
you know,
like real,
but if you want to get a gym, you're going to have to find a way to get your own gym membership. So I started working at the front desk of a gym in Boston, in Allston, called the Squash Club, which sounds like it would just be squash, but it was actually like the birthplace of aerobics. No joke. It was incredible. It was
like
squash.
Famous people came out of there?
Oh, yeah. Like people, I mean, if you were Sherry Catlin, like there are names I could mention that you wouldn't even know, but like people in the fitness industry remember Shelley Lambert and Sherry Catlin, Calvin Wiley, who lives in New York now, and everybody in dance knows Calvin. Like they all taught at the Squash Club. Yeah. And I would work the front desk and spend all my time watching them teach and watching the trainers, because I didn't have a certification yet. Like that was just the start of me really starting to love the fitness industry.
But what was interesting you about it? I mean, so you did it as a hobby. Why did you get so fascinated by it?
Well, I loved movement myself.
You just loved the movement.
Just loved, like I always loved working out. I was a gymnast. Movement had always been so important to me, and I had always loved the process, not just the result, not how I felt after.
Right.
I actually love the act of working out.
Yeah.
And
you're one of those
which
people.
Which is rare, right? I'm one of those. Which honestly,
I wish
like,
that was me.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want the
result. You're why I have a job. Like that's the thing.
Right.
It's like that's how you kind of know. It's like, wow, even my husband looks at me, and like 3 days ago, he's watching me. I'm like working out on the driveway because I pull out, and he's like, you actually like the act.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've asked me this 1,000 times. The answer is always going to be yes. And he's like, I just still can't believe it. He's like, but it is very rare. Cool, but I had always loved it so much. And I was like, gosh, if I could somehow bottle this up and have people feel what I feel during the act of it, like, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? Like, and how rewarding would that be to be able to change someone's, not only their physique, but their mindset.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, as I was with my roommates and whatnot, I was like, gosh, maybe I could actually do this, like, for a career, which was not a normal, the majors at Boston College, they didn't really have anything that would along those lines. So I ended up being a psychology major.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which actually
super helpful, right? I was going to ask you about that a little bit, but yeah.
Super helpful with a minor in health science, because I had originally been pre-med, and I was like, well, that road just seemed really long to me. I was like, and I so respect, my sister's actually a nurse, like anybody that goes into that profession, my gosh, like it is, talk about being a giver. But psychology never interested me in terms of like sitting and just listening to someone, right? Like I was like, well, I also knew that I express more in movement. So when I move, and when most people move, they open up so much. If you think about it, when you go for a walk with your partner or your spouse or your friends, you end up talking, like most people actually express more in movement than they do just sitting.
Maybe that's why I can't sit still when I make a phone call.
Exactly.
I have to walk.
Exactly.
Everybody makes fun of me. Like, there he goes, just pacing. I'm like, I can't.
You innately do it. You don't even you didn't even realize that that's what was going on, but you just, you just pinpointed it. Like you express more in movement. So I actually use my psychology degree so much in training, because people, like I said, they'll be working out, and personal trainers typically become like therapists to their clients, right? In a way. Well, I actually had the skill behind me not only the training skill, but the degree in psychology to really help them express even more.
How did that actually show itself and people opening up to you in
It
some
really
way?
did.
Or?
Like, but again, like, I don't think I was, when I first started training clients,
Yeah.
I wasn't self-aware enough to realize that that's what was going on.
Got it.
I was too young, right?
Yeah.
So when I graduated college and I started like really honing into training, back then, to make my rent, I had to train 12 people a day and bartend at the same time, because it wasn't, as I said, as much a profession as it was a hobby to most people. So what you were getting paid was pennies. It's not, what it is now, or what people, who get first start in the fitness industry now, they're like, they expect a lot more than what I expected back then.
Right.
Like
I mean, the knowledge base is just so much wider, right?
So, yeah. And it just, to me, it was like, you got to put your time in. I still believe that. And I think it's a big problem in the industry, to be honest, that nobody wants to put that time in anymore. Those grueling hours where you can't say to your fitness manager, I don't want to work the early shift. I just want to do from 4 to 8, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what's happening these days in gyms. And it's like, you got to do the morning
Well, say a little
shift.
bit more about that, because I know you sort of distinguish yourself as more of an expert than an influencer, right? Which I think is so interesting, because there's so many opinions out there, and we're all on social, all looking like, it's just not like, who's right, and where do you have the authority to say this? It's so scary, right?
It's scary, and there's so much noise.
So how do you approach that?
How do I? Yeah, that's kind of my saying, is that I'm an expert, not an influencer. Nothing against influencers. Like, listen,
but having knowledge is also good.
But having knowledge is good. So, when you're really looking to someone, you're following someone, or you're, interested in someone, you really, as the consumer, have to do your due diligence on whoever it is that you're following, or whoever it is you're taking advice from, to make sure that they are actually an expert in the field, or have some education behind them to support what they're telling you. And that's where it's become the Wild West out here, because someone looks good and they,
that's it. These guys look jacked. I'm like, I guess you did something.
And I guess I'll do what you're doing, because you look really great. So, that's where it gets a little bit scary. But that, for me, I've always been, I think it comes down to, I like to say that I evolve with the times, but I haven't changed with the times. So you have to look at what people are doing and what they're saying and what the trends are out there. But you shouldn't change. You don't want to change who you are, or your method, or your morals based on that. But you need to pay attention to it and evolve, so that you don't get left behind.
Right.
And I think that's true with any brand. It doesn't just have to be fitness, and any person, right? But the most important thing is to stay true to yourself and keep educating yourself. Just because I've been in this industry for 30 years doesn't mean that I shouldn't still be a student, that I shouldn't still be, continuing to get different certifications and, expand my knowledge. And to be an expert in the field, you also have to, you have to have the education behind you. You can't just, and the experience. Like, experience, to me, it makes such a difference with training. And I think, again, what's really confusing people out there's a lot of programs and a lot of online trainers who have never worked with a human body in real life. And this may, ruffle some feathers with people, but if you're a trainer, you have to have actually worked with human bodies in real life.
Now, when you say they might not have done that, what does that mean?
Never trained a person. So they've got maybe they even have the education behind them, and they have the certification, but they've always just been an online trainer. So they've never touched a person like this.
Oh, interesting.
They've never actually worked in a gym and seen, like...
How do they get the certification then?
Because you can just go online.
Oh, really? Interesting.
You can just... Anybody.
And that's probably more prominent now since COVID,
absolutely, right? Absolutely. And listen, the world of online, like, I'm obviously capitalizing on it with my app, 100%. But before I launched my app, that was 6 years ago. I had 24 years of hands-on experience with the human body prior to launching my app. So it would be like going to a doctor and would you want to have surgery from a doctor who was like, I've been watching all these surgeries online.
On YouTube.
Right. And I like have the education. I passed all my exams, but you're going to be the first body that I'm actually going to do it on. Like, you would never go to that person. The same with the dentist, like all of those. So why is it okay as a trainer that you can just become a trainer but never actually train anyone.
Yeah.
So that's just something I feel deeply about. It's like everybody's, path is different, but I believe firmly that the only way that you really learn how to work with a body and no two bodies are the same is to actually have worked with bodies in real life.
I imagine it's the only way.
It's the only way.
And
So
we spoke about so much of building a brand. There's the production, there's the what you're putting out there.
yeah.
Is that something you try to lead with, that sense of expertise and experience? And is that something you message?
Yeah. Trying to do more, learning that I need to do that more than I guess in the beginning when I first, you learn so much when you're building a business. And in the beginning, just how much what I thought I was going to do and how what I needed to have, as on my app and program wise and all of that has shifted so much in 6 years.
Tell me a little bit of that growth. Because I find it so fun, especially in your industry where it's, like you said, it's a whole new world. It's so personality driven, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear some of the things you've learned, the learning curve.
I mean, one of the things I have learned is that people really do, they are investing in the person, like you just said. They're investing in the feeling and the person and how they feel doing the workouts and after, right? So it is so personality driven. Even in an app, like it's a question of like from the city, like when you go to studios around the city, people are following the instructor around, right? They're like they actually don't care what studio they're at. They want that exact person because they like that person. So if someone's teaching, if they move around to different studios, they're gonna follow that one person around. When I first launched the app, I think I was just really stubborn. Like, I think that was not that I was that young. I was 44 at the time, or 45 actually, because I'm always 51. Can you believe I'm almost 51?
I would
almost
not.
51.
I would not.
And proud of it.
That's impressive.
Thank you. So I remember when I went to launch it, I was like, I'm not going to offer programs. I'm going to have these workouts there that are amazing. They're, modeled after the classes I've taught in the city forever, and then broken down into smaller pieces. So, not, just body part specific, muscle group specific, but all with the Stoked method flow.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing programs. People have to know their body enough to know what to go in and what they want to do on that day.
Right.
Like, know if you want to do legs. Like, you want to know that Monday's your leg day. Know that Tuesday's going to be your upper body. Wednesday, you're going to do full body. Like, they don't need me to tell them what to do. 10,000% wrong. Within like, I'd say a month after launching the app, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Just the questions we were receiving. And
this was
like,
how long ago was the app
6
launched?
years ago. So
6 years ago. Yeah.
So the app launched a year before COVID.
Oh, interesting.
So a lot of people are like, oh, you launched the app during COVID. And I was like, no, I was perfectly set up for COVID.
Because I was even going to say, even now, when we talk about the hand holding, again, just what we spoke about, there's so much out there that I find when I'm trying to get into something, it's like, I want all of that. I want you to be very clear. Because it's so easy to get distracted.
You just want to be told what to do.
Exactly.
Right. You want to be told what to do. And so I learned really quickly that like, okay, you can't you really do have to give people. And the reason I was so, I guess, resistant to it was, and the reason it took me, 24 years to launch an app was,
well, we're about the same age. So we are missing that window of sort of DNA-esque social and app. And we're playing catch up.
Yeah, we're playing catch up. Totally. And I think originally I was so kind of stubborn with the fact that I'm like, as a trainer, no two bodies are the same. Right. How can I put something out there that essentially is, I don't know who's doing it. I don't know what their body looks like. I don't know what they really need. Mm-hmm. That was what was holding me back from ever launching an app. Because I was like, no, it needs to be personalized. It needs to be. And I realized and that's why I didn't do programs initially. Because I was like, well, someone may need to focus more on their lower body than their upper body. So let them choose just the lower, no two bodies are the same. So you choose what works for you. When you put a program out there, you're essentially creating a program that everybody would be doing, right? So, which may not be the best thing for everybody.
Right.
So when I launched the program, like started programs, I started stoked in 7, super stoked in 7, super duper stoked in 7. So it was beginner, intermediate, advanced.
Yeah.
Everything is based off stoked, the stoked method,
Sure.
Kira Stokes. So it was like the levels.
Which is a cool name, by the way.
Thank you.
That works out well.
That
works
I
out
was,
well.
I was like totally bored. I was like, gosh, it is perfect, isn't it? So, you know, I started that way, and then I started to realize the more workouts that I had that I would drop on the app, well, it's okay that I'm going the not one size fits all method, but the fact that there's so many options on the app allows it to work for everybody.
Yeah.
So even within the programs, like there's different levels that I launch within the program. So I feel confident that like, okay, someone who's a beginner, they're going to go in and choose stoked in 7. Someone who's like been working out for 20 years and they're like, I crush it. They can use super duper stoked in 7. So I think, you know, when I first, you know, launched it, it was pure stubbornness. And it was, I remember I had to work really hard on it, being like, okay, I see what people are saying. They want me to tell them exactly. You got to listen to the people that you are trying to appeal to. Like, you can't just do what you want to do. They're the ones that matter. The consumer is the one that matters. And you have to give them what they want. And again, you don't change who you are to do that. You evolve.
Yeah.
So it was me evolving into like, okay, write this program. They want an ab challenge. Okay, let's give them an ab challenge, you know, even though I wouldn't just do abs. Like, that's what people want.
Right.
Like, you have to, and then make it your own.
Yeah.
So within an ab challenge, also tell them this is not the only thing you should be doing for 21 days.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
It's an ab challenge. Like, you should be doing
Just not
other
your total
workouts. Like,
workout,
this is
right.
This isn't it. Like, you
Right.
have to, like, you know, so educating people on figuring out, like, I'm giving you this, but you also need to do that. And I think there is so much noise out there in the industry now as to what's right. I get just the messages I get on a daily basis from people being so confused about, am I lifting heavy enough?
Yeah.
Am I, you know, it's like, should I be running? One day you hear running is great. The next day you hear it spikes your cortisol level.
Right.
The next day you hear like, no, put the weighted vest on. Like, it's like,
that's the thing. There's
so much. It's so much information,
okay, so
and you can find an answer. You can kind of find the answer that you want to hear anywhere now, because it changes on a daily basis.
I find, as I'm obviously not a super fitness person, you know, I go through phases, right? My motivations change. I mean, honestly, a lot of the times it's like, I just want to look good for my wife. Like, my motivation is never for me. Like, for me, I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's like finding your motivations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, you know, no, I want to feel, I'm at a phase now where, yes, I just want to feel better for me. It's mobility, it's longevity, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I found for me, it's a lot of cutting through and getting to like just the simplicity of what I need to do.
Yep.
And that's tricky, and that requires some guidance. And so I think I think it's really important to have a source where you can get to, and I'm curious what you think about this and what advice you give people, where you can sort of get to the essence of why you're doing it. Like there was a stage where I was like, I want to get jacked.
You
want really my interest right now.
Right.
So, you know, I just started, which I've never done before. I just started on the Peloton, right? I've never done, I'm like, dude, I love this.
Yeah.
It's like exactly what I need. I know I need lower body and legs. It's something I hate doing.
Yep.
I got to get my heart rate up.
Yeah.
I jump off, I do some weights. Like, and it feels really in what I need from my life at the moment.
Right now. Yeah.
So how do you work with people to find, you know, I guess their true north in the workout?
Yeah,
you know?
their North Star.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, and I do think it's, you know, it almost changes per decade. Just like what we need to focus on, right, changes a little bit per decade. So does your motivation behind it, right? Like everybody in their 20s, I mean, you're like, I just want to look good, right? You just but it's so funny, like you think about it in terms of, I hate to be like, and feel like the old person in the room being like, gosh, if I had known when I was 20 what I know now, but it's like the knowledge that people that we have, and people that are older, the knowledge that we're trying to gain about longevity, right? About trying to feel better as we age. younger people can use that as power, right? I wish that people in their 20s and 30s would be more concerned about working out for longevity and health span versus just looking good, so that they could know like the difference of how they're going to feel when they're 40, 50, and 60. It's hard to see that in your 20s, right? Because you're like, I just want to put those jeans on and look really good. But it's like, how's that going to feel in 30 years if you're, the impact you're putting on your body, whatever it may be, if you're running every day, whatever it is, like, how's that going to feel when you're in your 50s and 60s? Like, you want to say to them, oh my gosh, just use the knowledge that we're all equipped with now to make yourself more powerful in your younger years.
But nobody has that foresight.
Nobody has the foresight, right? Right. So, I would say, I think it really does depend. Like, look, you get women that want to work out because they have a wedding coming up, or they have a reunion, whatever it is. You're always going to have those moments in life that you can use as motivation. But I think that's like an intrinsic knowledge. That's really looking into yourself. Like, where I always say, when I go to the water and I find my happy place, like that, you have to have a place that you go that allows you to really internalize where you are in life and why you're doing something. Right. If you don't know your why as to why you're doing this workout, then you're not going to be the workout's not going to be as effective, and you're not going to hit your goals. Like, number one is defining the why. Like, and everyone's why is okay. You just have to know it. Like, it's okay to say, I want to look good in a bikini. Fine. Like, that's okay. Like, it's okay to have that. But in order to achieve the goal, you have to know the why. And then you have to verbalize it, right? And say it, and then find someone like me, maybe, or my app, or whatever it is, or for you, it's Peloton right now, but you're going to download my app, and then you're going to start doing that. Problem. It's going to be fun. But I'm like, you're going to make this
workout agnostic.
Or you could do them both. Right, exactly.
I don't mean to plug them. What I'm saying is, but don't listen to anything I do. I'm saying, as a fitness, normal guy, simpleton, this is how I'm trying.
Right, exactly. But that's the beautiful thing about fitness,
but I also I hate the process.
You hate the process.
You love the, I'm one of those people.
Process, but you also have to find the person that can guide you, that's going to make you like it. Right. Like, you found your person or whatever it is that you're like, okay, I don't hate this as much as I did, 2 years ago. You find everybody, like, it's the same with the kind of exercise that you're doing. I always say to people, the first step is to find something that you love. Yeah. Like, you have to have that one thing in your fitness routine that is the thing that you're like, I actually like doing this, whether it be walking, running, rollerblading, cycling, lifting. Everybody has one thing that's fitness related that you're like, I actually enjoy this, right? Do the one thing, but then, and always have that in your arsenal, and continue doing it. But then you have to have the thing that, like, you actually really do not like doing. Right. That's the thing that challenges you and changes you. And the thing that you love is like the comfy blanket that you keep on and you always go back to. And it's like the treat that you always get to, like, have with you. And then you got to rip the blanket off and embrace the challenge of doing something that, like, jumping rope, for example. I love jumping. It's a big part of my method, jumping rope. And it is like the studies that have come out recently about how important jump training is as you get older, how it does actually impact your bone density in a really positive way. And most people, when they say they download my app, there's an entire category that's jump rope workouts. Jump rope and strength, jump rope, like, it mixes it in. It's not just like 30 minutes of jumping rope, but you're getting intervals of jump rope with strength training as well. And the number of messages I get from people like, can I do it without the rope? Like, can I just jump? And I'm like, no, like, think, it's a mindset. Think back to when you were a kid. You used to jump rope because it was fun. You used to do it on a playground because it was a good time, not because it was a workout. So if you can shift your mindset to go back to that place where it was seen as play versus work, it will change everything. And I honestly believe that. And it's like the same, like, there's so many things you can relate that back to in life, right? Like, when did it become hard? And when did it become something that feels like work?
Well, it's interesting. I wonder, you make a great point, and I wonder if, because as we get older, and especially in the workout world, it's so results driven. You played for no result. Right. You just played. I definitely want a result. So you enjoy, let's say you could take away the result. You enjoy the movement. You enjoy being in that space, which is great. For most people, it's so results driven. And so you get this burden. And I wonder if there is an approach where it's possible to get the mindset where, fine, there are going to be results out of this, but how do we enjoy
Take
this?
the expectation out.
Exactly.
You got to remove the expectation.
Yeah.
Because
do you come up against that?
Because
yeah.
I feel like, you know, everyone knows, like, if you're at all interested in fitness, you know that, like, results happen. Like, that you know that, like, if you start moving your body and you haven't been moving your body, you're going to see some kind of results.
Yep.
Right? If you can take the expectation of that result coming in a certain amount of time, or with a deadline, like, it changes. It does change your whole mindset. It's almost like you're putting too much pressure on yourself by, you know, it's like Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours, right? Like, you have to commit to something and stick with it and be consistent with it. And I think that's the hardest thing for people who don't love working out, is that they want to see the result within a month. They want to be like, oh my gosh, I achieved my goal within a month. And realistically, that doesn't happen. If you stay consistent with it, like, you just have to trust the process. And I think taking the expectation of a time frame, you know, really changes everything. It changes your mindset. And I know it's really hard to do. I get that it's hard to do, but that's one of those conscious moments where you take a moment before your workout and for gratitude, right? The fact that you're able to move your body in this way is such a gift. It takes the expectation of what you're supposed to achieve from that workout out of the equation, and you just start to enjoy the workout.
You've mentioned a few times this love of movement.
Yeah.
Tell me where that's stemming from.
I mean, this is like an epiphany I had like a couple of years ago. It's funny how you just, speaking of that, you just, like, I feel like as you get a little bit wiser in years, you start to, like, analyze, like, where things came from, right? And where people ask more questions, and you're like, gosh, I really have to think about that. So I, not that I remember this, but I was born with an unformed hip socket, which many people are. So it's called hip dysplasia. But they usually catch it when you're born. So when they, in the hospital, like, they'll pull your legs just to, like, see that your hips. So they do that little test, and they usually catch it there if there's an issue. But they didn't with me.
Wow.
And so I went almost 2 months with but, you know, my mom said she would, like, pull my arms up to sit me up off her lap. And I would just, like, wince at it a little bit. And she was like, well, something just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And so she brought me to the pediatrician. And you'd think my mom would remember the exact timing of this, but honestly, she didn't. It was like 6 or 8 weeks, whatever it was. And she said, you know, something's wrong. I'm, like, moving. And the pediatrician was like, oh my gosh, like, we didn't catch this. Like, she has an unformed hip socket.
Oh.
And apparently, if it had gone longer, this is what she told me, if it had gone longer than when they had caught it, I would have had, like, a permanent limp situation.
Okay.
Again, this was 1974. Times have changed. Like, that probably wouldn't be an issue these days. So I was also pigeon-toed. So I was a mess. I was born with an unformed hip socket, and I was pigeon-toed. So, like, a disaster. So they had to put casts on my legs.
Both legs were in a cast.
Both legs were in casts up to my hips. And I had
2 months old.
At 2 months old, like 6 weeks.
Wow.
And special shoes with the bar between my legs.
Wow.
Which
That's a nightmare.
again, a total nightmare. Like, pictures of me when I was a baby, it's like I have this bar with this, you know, there's, like, I looked like I was trussed up like a turkey.
Wow.
Like, poor me. So she would have to go back and get the casts, like, obviously I was growing, like, removed and put back on. And so I think she said it was about a year. I was that way for about a year. And the night after, when I got the cast off, she heard this banging in my crib. Both she and my father, like, what is that noise? And there were no monitors back then, right? So they came into the bed, and I was apparently flailing my legs, like, banging my arms and legs uncontrollably.
Right.
And my mother was like, oh my gosh, like, something is wrong. Like, we need to bring her to the doctor. Brought me to the doctor the next day or a couple days later. And she explained what happened. And he said, well, what would you do if you had been, you know, immobile for a year? Like, you would be like, freedom. Like, let's move my arms. And that's what I was doing, I was expressing the fact that I was able to move and my limbs were free, right?
Interesting.
And they had to, and so I did that for years after. Like they would hear me in the middle of the night. They come in and rub my back
with the braces
with
or
my,
no?
no,
So those
braces
are off,
were
but
off.
in your crib.
In
You're
my
still
crib. In my crib, I would just be moving. Like it was almost like restless leg syndrome to the max, right? But they would hear it and go, somebody go in and rub her back, and it would calm me down, and I would stop doing it. But think about that. It was like I was literally free and didn't know what to do with my limbs. So just started, and my mom's whole thing, she'd say, like, you never stop moving from that point. Like you never, as a kid, like I was constantly moving, constantly running around.
Played a lot of sports.
I was a gymnast.
Yeah.
You know, again, back then, like I always say, why did my parents put me in gymnastics back then? A sport that you can't continue with like for the rest of your life. But that was back, you know, girls didn't
That's
really
a great foundation, right?
It was a great, I mean, that's where I swear my core strength,
yeah,
like 100% owe that to gymnastics. Probably the triceps too. It's partially from gymnastics. But, you know, I really do believe, and I never really thought that much about it until it was like, I'd say it was like 10 years ago. And I was like, you know what? Like that kind of explains why I love movement so much and why I have this gratitude for it. And, you know, I obviously don't remember that as a baby, but you know, studies show and science shows that like things that happen to you at that age, like have an impact on you as you know, the unconscious, kind of an unconscious state, but it can affect you your whole life.
Absolutely.
So I really think that that's where it came from. And then
nobody puts baby in a corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner or puts little casts on her legs. But it's just my whole life. Like it's even it was just in my brain. Like when I tell you that I did not have like parents or a mother my dad was he was a big runner growing up. And so he would come home from work, and before he'd even he'd literally get to their bedroom, put his running clothes on, give us a wave, and be out the door to go running. Cause he would go to work at like 4:00 in the morning. So he couldn't run before work. And I saw that in him, and I would wait, you know, at the bottom of the driveway, and he would come at the end of his run and just go like this. And I would run the cul-de-sac with him.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was like our moment. But my mom was not someone that ever worked out.
Yeah.
She always used to say to me, I'm just working out for bone density, not lunch. She had like 3 exercises that she would do, and that was it. But it was just in me when I was growing up. It sounds so weird, but I used to line my stuffed animals up. I had like 30 of them. I'd line them up in the hallway and with a yardstick and a make-believe scale, because my mom didn't have a scale in the house. We just never grew up with one. And she'd hear me like talking to my animals, saying like, you ate too much honey yesterday, Pooh Bear. And I'd keep make-believe files on them. From? That's it. And like, she was like, I don't know. Cause she never talked about, I mean, when I tell you my parents were not into like, they never weighed themselves. It wasn't, you know, we had anything we wanted to, any junk food we wanted was in our house. Like it was not a thing. It was just in me. And I have a high school friend, and I don't really remember this until she reminded me of it at a reunion. She goes, it really makes sense what you're doing for a living. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you know, when I go to sleep over at your house when we were like 12, like we were 11 or 12, you would get down on the floor and start doing sit-ups. And I was like, what? And she goes, and you would say to me, I have to do 100 sit-ups before I go to bed. And she goes, and you would say that? I would say it to her. And she said, and you would look at me and just go like this. You don't have to join me. And she goes, and you, she right. And she goes, I'm better than you if you don't. Looked at me with this like weird, like, it's okay. Right. And then she goes, and before I know it, I'm on the ground doing sit-ups with you. She goes, it was just, I was like, example. I did that. She goes, I can't believe you don't remember it. And I was like, I think I just don't, just because it was like, I just did it. Nobody told me to. I just loved it. And that's the beginning of this thing. This great term you invented, which is the snacks, right? Yes, movement snacks.
Movement
Good
snacks.
Segue.
Right?
Which is true.
So, but again,
oh my gosh, this is like, again, I had an epiphany. I came up with a movement snack when I was 11.
But this is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I think from the baby, I think just an appreciation of the body, what a gift it is to have, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely subconsciously it goes in, you're moving all the time.
Yep.
taking every opportunity to move.
Yeah.
And look, it expresses
then
itself. So tell me about what's it called?
Snacks.
Movement snacks, which I think is a pretty cool idea.
Movement snacks, Stokes snacks. I call them both.
Yeah.
So I've been doing movement snacks, like you said. I mean, now I just realized since I was like 11 years old.
There you go.
But it's something that I've always looked at my environment differently. Yeah. Like when I look at a tree, I look at something that I'm like, oh, I could, hold on to that and do, fall back sitting into a squat, holding onto the tree. When I look at a bench, I'm like, I never think about sitting on it. I'm like, I could do push-ups off that bench. I look at a street lamp, the street sign in the city, and I'll jump up. I mean, I've been known to do this, and Alex knows this, and just start doing pull-ups off it. Like, I look at everything. Do we
have photos of that?
Oh, yeah. I could send you video of it. Oh, yeah. There's a couple videos. I'm consistent. I've done it many times. I could do it right outside here. You can get some after. When you start to shift your mindset, and again, it's not like an obsessive thing. It's more like, well, when can I get just a couple reps of something in to boost my energy, boost my mood, and just, I always say, like, every bit of movement is like an investment in your wellness bank. Mm. And so when I think it probably, when I started to really, again, realize I was doing movement snacks is when clients would say to me back 20 years ago, I don't have time to work out. And I was like, but I have many responses to that. But one of them was, well, I'll find a way for you to do it, to work it in on your own when you're not seeing me. And I would send them, an email and say, today, every time you pass a bench, you're going to do 10 push-ups. And every time you get up off the couch, you're going to get up and down off the couch 10 times. And that's a squat. So, and it would shift their mindset and they go, oh, while you're waiting for your dinner to cook, push-ups off the countertop. There's always a way to make it happen, right? Yeah. And the amazing thing is, I think it was even like a year ago, it might have been 6 months ago, all this, all you started hearing everywhere on all different shows in the news and articles was like the importance of movement snacks. I was like, I'm just so happy it's catching on. Like, and people
They're saying that because of you.
No, not because of me. I possibly, maybe not, right. But people would send me articles. I'm not referenced in it, and they'd go, "Haven't you been doing these forever?"
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Doesn't it?" I'm like, "Doesn't bum me out that someone's talking about it." I'm like, "It makes me happy that people are getting more movement in and realizing that it's worth it, that it's worth doing." And these snacks are so great. I mean, because what they were doing is talk about the science that came out that it's not like if you are. There's science out there now that says you're better off if you're getting one workout in a day, say you're working out for 45 minutes in a day, and then you're sitting for the rest of the day, that you're actually better off doing 10 minutes of movement 5 times a day than doing that 45 minutes together. Because if you're just going to sit the rest of your day, you're metabolically, like, you're bringing your metabolic rate down. Yeah. Like, but if you can I always say, like, keep the engine going, right? If you are shocking, I call it shock your body, right? If all of a sudden you've been sitting, you're like, you know what? You have a call, and you take a call, and you're like, I'm going to walk around the block 3 times right now, rather than sitting. That's so much more beneficial to you than just doing one workout and then sitting the rest of your day. So incorporating movement snacks throughout the course of your day, it regulates your glucose levels, which we know, like, after you have a meal and your sugar level spikes, right? And then it drops. Like, if you can take a walk right after your biggest meal, it completely adjusts your glucose level in your body, which can help with, fat regulation and develop into just all of that. Like, there's so many benefits to little movement snacks. And truth be told, like, how much better do you feel after you take a quick walk after you've had a meal?
I did that today. I was on a call. I walked all the way down to the World Trade Center and back, and it was like, oh, why don't I do this more?
Exactly.
I got a lot done, and I got a workout.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like a lot of times people are just doing it, and they don't even realize they're doing it because it does make you feel better, but you don't necessarily realize the benefits of it. Yeah. So, and on my app, there's an entire category. It's called the fine-tuning category, where everything's 10 minutes or less. And it's like, if you just want to do a quick 10 minutes somewhere, you just push play on it. It's like, I give you every option to not have the excuse that you don't have time. And listen, I know everyone's lives are busy, and there's different mindsets. I always say the person that is the kind of like the optimizer, like someone that's a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist, they may say like if they don't have an hour to work out, they're just not going to do it. It's like an
Yeah.
absolute, you know, there's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people who are like, it's not worth it. If I
Right.
can't commit to the full hour, forget it. I'm not
Which is
doing it at
oftentimes
all.
just a subtle excuse.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Like that's
Yeah.
again, it's like you got to shift your mind to realize
Right.
that every little bit counts,
Yeah.
right? But then when someone says, you know, I don't have time to do it, I'm like, well, you don't always have time to do what's important to you to do, but you make time
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
things that are important to you, and your health is important. And it's the most valuable asset you have,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not investing in that, then you're not going to have it's like, well, do you have time to be sick? You don't have time to be sick either, right? So just invest those little, just keep throwing those pennies in the bank and they add up.
Two things strike me as really what I really like about the movement snacks. One is it seems to cut through analysis paralysis as it comes to working out. It's like, forget about everything you read. Just do 10 push-ups.
Exactly.
Just, so I love that. The other thing is, and I'm just catching on to this now, and I think I know this, but I think we forget about an experience that movement actually gives you more energy.
Exactly.
There's a sense that I'm going to be tired. I can't do it now. But you find when you're movement, it recharges you.
It recharges you.
So I think it's a really cool concept to remember.
And I think, and I think that's again, one of those like mind shifts. Like I always say, like, instead of thinking of exercise and movement as something that's depleting your energy, it really is an energy booster. I say it all the time. I'm like, you have to shift your mind to realize, like, my gosh, the serotonin boost you get, and just the endorphin boost and the energy boost you get by moving your body, it's almost one of those, like, you just don't know it until you try it.
Yeah.
And I launched, it's funny, despite having that category on the app, again, it's
you have a movable. I mean, I
have the fine tuning, but
the fine tuning, yeah.
And I knew, okay, it's another good example of a plan, right? People needing a plan. People could go to that section of the app every day and just push play. They're 10 minutes. They could do them at any point in the day. And this was just last week. I was like, maybe I need to drop a 10-minute motivator challenge. Despite the fact that they could just grab those right from they're all already there in that fine tuning category. I was like, maybe if I give them a 7-day, 10-minute motivator challenge, like, all you got to do is push play. You got 7 days. It's 10 minutes or less. It's had such a massive, like, I can't even tell you,
so you launched
the
that.
Response. Yeah. So I dropped that on Monday of this week. So 10-minute motivator challenge. It's 7 days, 10 minutes a day. People have been using the app, right, for 6 years. I dropped this and they're like, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, it was just me organizing what they already had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was right there for them, but they needed it organized. And the whole premise of the challenge is, whether this 10 minutes, hopefully it ignites the spark for you to add 20 more minutes, like, or you take a walk after you do it, or maybe you add a 30-minute workout on you, because the whole premise of the app is you're stacking workouts so that you can stack it your way. Okay. So you do the 10 minutes and then you stack on a 20-minute workout or whatever it is. If you can't do that, at least you got those 10 minutes in. Yeah. So if it's a day where you but more often than not, if you give yourself 10 minutes for your body to connect to your mind and your mind to connect to your body, it's going to lead to 20 minutes and then 30 minutes. And that's what it does. You just have to think about it. When you go for a run, your first 10 minutes suck. Yeah. Like the first 10 minutes, no matter who you are, you're like, oh God, can I do this today? Like everybody, right? You're like, actually the whole thing sucks. Right. But in general,
you're
like
right.
you give yourself 10 minutes and all of a sudden you're like, okay. And that's literally what's happening physiologically in your body. Yeah. It's like the neurons start to fire. You're creating those neural pathways in your body, so your body is understanding what it needs to do to keep you engaged and moving. And then boom, like you start to feel that awesome benefit and the energy boost of exercise. So
yeah, it's like some of the things you're saying are fascinating. The psychology is so important. I'm just thinking now, I love to play sports, right? So if I was playing a game, I'd play all day long. I wouldn't think about being tired. I wouldn't worry about it. There'd be no result. Yeah. Right? Before the fitness industry, people just did stuff. They fixed stuff, they farmed, they walked. Like we just did
farmers.
More.
They were literally functionally training every day.
So it's really interesting to think about now when we do less of that, the sort of the psychology becomes so much more important. Yep. I don't really have a question behind it, but it's just so interesting. Yeah. It's like how do we don't have that natural play and natural just walking around. Like I
Right.
look at my dad. My dad is always moving, always fixing. Always,
Yep, same.
it's
My
his
dad
saving
too.
grace is health, right?
Yeah.
He could be healthier and he
Yeah.
works out, but his saving grace is he's always putzing around
Putzing
doing
around. I
something.
literally
right?
call it putzing. My dad's 86.
And it's amazing.
And my husband's always like, your dad never sits down. I was like, never.
My dad's the same way. Same age, same thing.
Yep. Does not. And it's like, constantly doing something.
Yes.
I mean, don't you also feel like, and I think this is why it's like okay that athleisure has become like so popular to wear. If you're in your workout clothes,
right.
like when you take your work call and you're dressed nice like this, right? You don't necessarily think of it as much as a workout because you're just walking and you're in normal clothes.
Yeah.
But when you have workout clothes, if you took that same call and you were dressed in workout clothes, in your head you'd be like, oh, cool, I just got like part of a workout in.
Right.
Like this is also why New Yorkers, like when I have so many clients that have moved from the city to the suburbs and they immediately put on 10 pounds.
Interesting. Yep.
Because they're walking everywhere in the city and they don't even realize it because they're dressed, right?
Yeah.
And they're just going throughout their day, doing whatever a New Yorker does, which is walking everywhere, right? And they're getting so much movement in. They're doing movement snacks all freaking day long, right? You go to the suburbs, you start driving from your kid's school to the grocery store so that you drive everywhere, even if it's just a block.
Yep.
For some reason, the mindset in the suburb, you're like, let me get in my car. I'm going to go to, like, I got to go 2 blocks
we
down.
gravitate towards the easiest way.
The easiest way, right?
Yeah.
So it's the perfect example of the effect that just, as we call it, NEAT, non-essential exercise thermogenesis, has on your body.
Yeah.
Like just getting those extra snacks in that you don't necessarily realize are actual can count towards your workout.
It's great.
They do. But that's my, like, I would say to people, like, a great motivator is, I mean, I know we don't want to be in workout clothes all the time, but it can motivate you to have the mindset of like, you're getting your workout in if you're in workout clothes, or you're more likely to like, you pass by the gym on your way home and you're like, oh, I'll stop in there.
As a New Yorker, I can't stand
wear
workout clothes.
I know.
But the closest I could do is sweats, and I can't stand. Like
I feel like
as
it's
a New
harder
Yorker,
for
I have to
men.
put on armor.
Like
You
you
know
really, you're
what
like,
I
I need my, I gotta have my, but I do think it's harder for men. Like women can get away with wearing leggings and like
wears workout clothes. It's
That's
fascinating
my life.
in a way.
You're like, do you get dressed? No, with the times where I have to get dressed, I'm like, how do people do this every day? Like literally, I'm like, thank God I have a job where I can be in leggings like 24/7. If I actually, the fact that I put jeans on today is like, I can count on one hand how many times I've done that during the week in the past 3 months. It just doesn't happen. But again, like that's how much does it change your mindset when you put normal clothes on that you're in business mode? So the same thing happens when you put workout clothes on. It's like it's going to motivate you more. Like if you've got to put them on like put them out the night before, so it makes you get up in the morning, and the second you roll out of bed, you like roll into your workout clothes. It's going to help you. Like you've got to find those little things. They call it like it's like Atomic Habits by James Clear. You got to find your ways to habit stack that are going to help your healthier lifestyle, right? So it's like, what are the things that you can consistently do and stack together so that you do consistently do them?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like one of the things I always tell people, you have to have 12 ounces of water before your coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not good
And
at
I mean,
that.
you
Not good at
don't
that.
mean in a coffee establishment,
No, I don't mind the water. I'm just not good at it.
People coming in.
We have water.
Right, you're like, water's there. but it's so important.
Yeah.
Because you wake up in a state of dehydration. You've just gone how many hours with no water, right? So if the first thing you're putting in your body is coffee, right? The minute I'm telling you, it's like it's a trick, and it's made such a difference.
Do you put
in
like
so many
Himalayan
people.
salt in? You do that? You just drink
I
water?
just freaking drink water.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I mean, again, it's one of those things. It's like we don't need to make it more difficult.
Right,
Than
there's
it already
always
is.
something.
There's always something. It's like just drink water. Like it doesn't need 5 steps.
Right.
Like just drink your water, and it is such like the amount of energy I have before even having my coffee it's
because
crazy.
Of the water.
Yes.
Right.
And it took me 3 weeks, honestly, to deal with it because I love the taste of coffee first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I really was like, no. The first thing that I have to taste has got to be coffee.
Yeah.
It took me 3 weeks to get over that. And now I just keep water right by my bed. I chug it the second as I'm walking down the stairs to make my coffee,
Yeah.
drink it. And it's like immediately I'm awake without the coffee.
And would you say coffee is an essential part of any health? No, just
I absolutely do. Yes, I do.
No, you're absolutely right.
Twice, 3
Let's
times
be
a day.
clear. We should not. We're not saying
and
don't
only at
drink
the
coffee.
Laughing Man Cafe in Tribeca and make your way down here.
Right.
No, but really, like
Yes.
I'm a fan of. Well, I mean, I'm never going to tell somebody not to drink coffee in the morning. Like I'm.
No, but it's true.
I'm
I do.
someone
I
that
have
loves it.
I have the cup of coffee,
Yeah.
and I obviously don't drink enough water. Let me change tracks a bit because I'm curious. I want to hear sort of about this empire you've built.
I love that you're calling it
But
an empire.
I mean, I think you're working with some great clients.
Yeah.
You developed a great
Yeah.
system. I mean, it's taken off. So
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Thank
It's
you.
hard to do, especially in this space. One of the things I'm curious before we get into sort of the details, I'm curious
Yeah.
about what you would say makes your approach different.
Mm.
In college, you get motivated, you get this spark, you're in it for 35,
Yep.
talk to me about the moment of sort of taking the leap into now creating the Stoked method
Yeah.
and a business and all that comes with that. It's almost like the chef who now opens the restaurant doesn't get to cook as much.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little
Yeah.
bit about maybe some of
The
the
shift,
challenges and were those, was those things you were comfortable with or new sides of yourself you had to find to do it?
I never thought. Well, there's a couple things. I had never considered having a digital presence in that respect. Like
Right.
it hadn't really, like I said to you earlier. Oftentimes when you're a trainer, you're in the trenches training so many people, right? And teaching class. I was training and teaching classes that you aren't even thinking outside that box, right? Because you're so one track mind training the clients. And I never considered myself, oddly enough, I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
But I really was, since the fact that I was training in a big box gym and then shifted clients to in-home clients. Like unbeknownst to me, I was an entrepreneur in that sense. I was building a business outside of a gym.
Is that what happened? You were at
after-
a gym and then you said, I'm
Yep.
sort of going to take my own clients.
Right.
And
Right.
was there
But
a
I was in a
Stoked
gym
method
for
at
a
that point?
while. So this was back in Boston, right? So I lived in Boston for 12 years
Yeah.
after graduating Boston College and started training in a big box gym there, which I would tell every trainer to do. Like you have to get that experience of training in a big box gym. Like the education I got and the experience I got in that is so grateful for that.
Okay.
And just the hustle.
Right.
The hustle of like having to get the clients, like keep the clients and working, a lot of hours to also just, it really made me super skilled as a trainer. But I did that, and then you start to realize and do the math in your brain and go, well, what?
Yeah,
I'm,
exactly.
I'm making how much, the club is taking this much, and what, like, could I do this on my own? So I did start to move clients, like, to their homes. I started training them in their homes instead. And that happened when I was in Boston. I don't think that I didn't, and I'm a firm believer in this, I didn't coin the Stoked method until I moved to New York.
Okay.
So that was 12 years later.
And you were forced
Which
to
now
move to
everybody
New York.
has a method after 3 months of training.
Right.
So like I just like you
Right,
can't have a method until it's tested and proven in my mind and on human bodies in touching the human body, not just online.
Yeah.
Because you need that experience. So I didn't really understand, I didn't really have I knew how I was training people was different, and the flow of movement, how I was putting it together was very signature to me. But I didn't call it a method literally until I got to New York. And I had a great mentor in Boston who really helped me. He really shaped my method in a lot of ways. He was a physical therapist, an incredible trainer. He's the first person I had ever seen bridge physical therapy and training so that it became more of a less medical, as I would say, like less of the traditional PT and more on the more implementing more of the training. So it was different back, he was my mentor in 1998 until I moved basically to New York. And through him and the knowledge that I gained through him, everything that I did and all the programming that I did, I would ask him first, like, does this, like, I'm putting this movement together in this way, does this make sense? And he really helped. Like, he was like, you've got a really interesting way of flowing. The flow and how I put movement together definitely was impacted by being a gymnast. Staying inside the box with traditional movement, but then finding that the transitions between moves really matter as much as the moves themselves. So the space in between matters as much as the anchor moves that you're doing. And that's what kind of sets me apart, is how I create this flow of movement is very different than what other people do out there. And like, I always think of it as a chapter in a story. When you're reading a book and you go through a sentence, or you go through, or just say we're going through a chapter, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? There's a reason and a purpose for every word. You don't just go from the beginning to the end, right? So the same holds true when I'm programming a circuit. Every movement matters, the flow, the in between. It's all going to make sense with what came before it and what's coming after it for your body, like both scientifically, but also with your mind, right? So say, for example, you're doing, a compound move like a squat shoulder press, and then you're immediately flowing into a power movement like a squat jump. Then you're immediately rolling forward and walking out to a mountain. I'm giving you a basic circuit, mountain climbers. And then you're immediately moving your hands out to position for push-ups, and you flow betwing those four moves.
So is this all body weight stuff? Oh, okay.
Sometimes it can be.
Okay,
it depends on the workout you choose.
Yeah.
So that flow of movement and connecting movement is quite different than what most people experience when they're working out. Usually it's like you do a squat, then you go over, you might do a couple bicep curls, and it's more disjointed. Whereas my workouts in the Stoked method are very much, they rely on flow, which also puts you mentally into this place where you're so dialed in, because there isn't a moment where you're looking around and going like, okay, what's next? It's like you move from one move to the other.
A little yoga-esque in that way, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very like, it's people always say, like, who do the workouts for the first time, they're like, I can't even explain what just happened. It just felt so natural how my body was moving, but challenged too in an incredible way. So that type of movement, and where, my method per se, I coined that when I came to New York. And then within that, when I moved to New York, started teaching classes based off it. So Stoked Shred 360 was one of my first classes, and then Stoked Athletic Core is another one. Stoked Primal, which was body weight, which was like animal movements, where you flow from one kind of animal-like movement to the next. So it just, the method in the classes and the training evolved over time, but there was always that base of like really reinforcing the fact that your mind but it's so mental. It's not just the physical, but you have to be so mentally dialed in and connected to your body in order for the movements to matter. And what helps with that is that I always say, like, I come right out and say it, like, I'm a master cuer. So you have to know where your body is in space and what muscles you're working in order, again, for a workout to be effective. So the cueing of the instructor or the trainer is so integral and important. If you don't know what you're working or why, it's not going to make an impact on your body. So I'm so specific. Like, when I think that was part of the things that held me back from starting the app, was that, am I going to be able to convey? Am I going to be able to get people into the position, like when they're in class with me and I can really see it? And I very quickly had to get over that and trust myself and trust the fact that I am so good at cueing that they would be in the right place and they would be okay. And I think that's something that sets my app apart. I know it sets my app apart than other apps out there, because when I shoot a workout, I do it with the intention of someone could put their AirPods in and never have to look at the screen. Because people look at screens way too much throughout the course of their day. And for most people, the last thing they want to do is then stare at an iPad or or their phone or whatever they're doing my app on and have to watch it. And also, 90% of the time, your head position, if you're looking at the app, like you're
doing two things at once almost.
And you're planking. You shouldn't be looking at me like this. Like, and you're going to wake up the next day with neck pain. And so, like, if you can't verbalize what you're supposed to be doing to the people using your app, like if they can't close their eyes and get through the entire workout without ever having to look at the screen, in my opinion, you're doing something wrong.
I see my wife will follow something. I'm like, how are you possibly following that? Like,
Right.
My brain is frying just trying to follow these instructions.
Right. So it's like you got to be able to. I mean, I think it is a big differentiator in my app. Just the fact that like, like I say if I was cueing a squat, like a body weight squat, like right now, someone that's listening should be able to, if I say to them like, okay, bring your feet a little wider than hip width.
Yeah.
Like 10 toes forward. Your knees are going to track in alignment with your feet. Right? Now you're going to bend your knees. You're going to sit back into your hips. You're going to bring your quads to parallel with the ground. Hold there. Draw your navel in. Lift your chest. Abs are strong. Right? Neutral head and neck. Just hold and just feel it. So the weight's primarily in your heel. Then you're going to drive through your heels. You're going to lift up out of your squat. You're going to squeeze your glutes at the top. Like that's how specific, like someone listening to this podcast should have been able to just get through a squat. And that's the feeling they should have when they're doing the app and that they do. And so I'll always say to users, like, what do you look at the screen? Or do you not when do you look and they're like, actually, I'm just realizing like I look at it because I like it. I like, it's beautiful, like, it's a beautifully shot app. They're like, but I really don't. Like I just put my AirPods in.
That's cool. That's a good differentiator.
So it's a good differentiator. But back to the story of like how it's evolved, it evolved over time. So I think what's been hard for me, and I think anybody that has been in the business like I am for a really long time, is that, like I said, never had the intention of having a digital presence. There was no social media when I started. There was no, I never dreamed that I would have an app, that it would even exist, right? It was VHS back then. So for me, the shift in the decision to go virtual or to go digital was really challenging because I truly got into this business when you're in it for the right reason, right? When you're in it to really make an impact on people and to really change people's lives and help them fall in love with fitness, not to be dramatic, but, to really fall in love with movement. To not see them going through that process, because that's what brings you joy as a trainer. Like when it clicks in their head and you can see they finally got a movement right, or they finally did a push-up.
Nothing's going to beat in person.
Nothing's in person, right? It's like I am such a people person that to know that they're doing it, like they're seeing me every day, but I'm never seeing them, was really hard for me to grasp.
Yeah.
So initially, and this is really the story right here of how the transition happened, I thought I should open a studio. This was before my app.
Right.
I was working at a studio in the city, and everybody kept saying to me, like, when are you going to open a studio? When are you going to open your own studio? You have a whole, you have an entire roster of classes to teach. Like, you don't need to, because I was considered the celebrity brand partner of this studio. It was called BFX Studio in the city. It was between 5th and 6th on 15th Street. And I had a great gig there, right? But people were like, well, why don't you just open your own place? Like, you don't need to be in the studio. I was like, you're right. I'm going to do that. Like, you're right. I should open a studio. And I actually signed an LOI to open a studio in the city, and then couldn't sleep at night. And was like, my husband was looking at me. He's like, you're waking up in the middle of the night, like in a cold, cold sweat, like not an excited cold sweat, but more of an anxious, like, what am I doing? And he was like, you better figure out what you really want. Like, you got to really want this.
As a
like,
lifestyle
to do
choice,
it. A
almost.
total lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so what did I do? Well, I was like, you know what? You're right. I literally took myself to the water where I feel the most inspired, right? I have this one spot where people know, who follow me, I always do this moment of gratitude every day. I have my daily dose of the water and moment of gratitude. And I sat there for literally 2 hours. And just, this is an example of trusting your intuition versus letting your ego be the one to guide you, right? So trust your intuition over your ego. Because I was sitting there and I was thinking, am I doing this because I want to do it? Or am I doing it because everybody's telling me this is what I should be doing? This is my next step. When I really thought about it, I was like, my husband and I love to travel. I travel with clients. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, brick and mortar, you're tied to it, you have a bit, and there are benefits to it as well. But I was like, I don't even know if we want to live in New York in 5 years, like, I don't know. And I sat with it and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. And I had a manager at the time who was really instrumental. Like I had a long talk with him and he was like, I think you need to launch an app.
Go digital, yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I can't do. I was like, I can't see the people. I don't know if they're doing it right. And he was like, you are so good at what you do.
Right.
Trust me, if anybody can get people to do something right in the comfort of their own home, it's you. And I needed that. Like I needed someone to say, because I also trained him as well. And he was like, are you kidding me? Like, trust yourself. Like you're
it's a great call.
You're a master at this. Like this is what you do. And so he's like, and think of how many people you could impact with an app.
That's the thing. It's like, if you think about really what you love and your message, you get 50 people in the studio or you get tens of thousands online.
Right. And I was, but I get, it was again, me being a little stubborn.
But it's also a generational thing. It's behind the curve. It's like, I think about a lot of the stuff. I'm like, it's such a,
Yes.
But it's the way.
It's the way. It's like, you've got to, you've got to, like I said, you got to evolve with the times. You don't have to change, but you have to evolve. And so that's what really started the app. And it was, in addition to that, once I got going and realized like there was a fire in me that like the entrepreneur fire that was lit. And it was like the minute I started shooting content for the app, I was like, why am I using a band made by, Perform Better when I can make my own?
Right,
why am I going to give them money? And then like, boom, first product was born. And now 13 products later, which if initially when I made when I created the Stoke bands were the first product I ever created. And I remember thinking, I want the color scheme that I want. I don't want primary colors like what's sold everywhere online. So I'm just going to create a beautiful product and one that's obviously super durable. But I didn't think of it as being another business. Like I just thought, oh, this will be good.
Yeah.
It's such a massive it's equally as much a business as the app. I mean, they go hand in hand because everybody wants the system.
I think
you
it's even
create
what
a system.
SoulCycle found. I think SoulCycle found their merch was just as big a
Right,
business as
right. People
the
want the
classes. Yeah,
system.
yeah.
Like you're selling a system, you're selling a feeling, you're selling community as well. Like when everybody posts their bands or their Stoke ball or whatever it is. So I think once as I would say to anyone, like you may not think you're an entrepreneur until you have that moment that like lights something is going to light the fire in you.
Yeah.
Like whether it be an idea that you have that you're like, gosh, nobody's doing this. Why isn't anybody doing this? Maybe it could be me. It's like if you have the idea,
why not you?
Why
it
not
came to
you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not you? And if it in most cases, you also just have to find people to support you, and it's not just
Surrounded
you alone. You've got to be
people,
surrounded by the right people who believe in you as well, because
I
it
think
takes
it's
that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think it's another example of you sitting by the water and being clear about the motivation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. More wanting to touch more. Like the motivation has always been like how like I know how I put movement together is so special. And it just what it does for you mentally and physically, like how it improves you in every way, how it makes you stronger in every way, that I do want more people. I just want more people to experience it. Like I want more people to feel the power of getting stoked, right? And the difference and the differentiator. And even like, I know there's a million fitness apps out there, but there's also enough people for everyone. I always say that. And not everybody's technique or method is going to resonate with every person. And that's a beautiful thing. There's enough for everybody to go around. But sometimes I say like, my gosh, the challenge is always just getting someone to try. Like it's always getting someone to try it. That's the biggest challenge out there. Cause with all those fitness apps out there, you think, well, what's so different about this? Like, how could this be different than anything else?
Yeah. Yeah. I find in talking to you, and again, this is just an interesting psychology thing from trying to reach somebody who is not already hyped on fitness.
Yeah.
What I find in talking to you is it seems much more possible.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah.
And just daily approachable things. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. It's not like we've really gone into the I mean, heard a little about the method, but it's just the idea of fitness in natural ways and bringing to your life. Somehow just talking to you, I find I'm sort of inspired for it. So that's incredible. I think, again, you've entered a field which is so crowded.
Yeah.
But what I think, in going off of what you said, what I think is so exciting from an entrepreneurial standpoint is really anything is possible. The crowds are there. The playing field is so level. And if you're authentic and you love really what you do, it comes through. And I think, and I think you're proving the case. I mean, people are responding to it. So kudos to you
whenever,
on that.
I mean, the two things exactly what you just said. When someone says to me, how have you had such because I get this question a lot, like such staying power for 30 years in an industry that is ever changing. And truth be told, it's literally authenticity and consistency. It's like putting and integrity. It's the three. It's like, I don't do what's trendy. I do what's right.
Right.
And if it's right, it
It'll
stands
always
the
be
test
right.
of time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got longevity. And so, I think it's those three things. And I think that's important for anyone to remember. You need to stay true to yourself, or your staying power. You don't have staying power if you don't stay true to yourself, because that's true to life. Right?
Good message. Good message.
So.
Well, I've been stoked talking to you. This has been great. I
hope
you've enjoyed it.
That was so perfect. That was so perfect.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no,
I really
thank
appreciate
you for having me.
Great.
It was amazing.
Great.
And I have Stoked fans for you.
Oh, I love it. It's a great line.
You were going to get out of here without some Stoked fans?
It's a great line.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Great.
It was super fun.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll get a picture. We'll
let's do it.